Hey guys, how's it going? You may or may not have noticed, but I didn't make a video last weekend despite having pledged to make a video once a week, and that's because my computer crapped out. I've got my my old motherboard right here, and some components here on the ground, and the case there. So I opted into the early access to a couple of video games, and my first night trying one of those games, I got a blue screen of death, which is a really bad sign, and I decided I'm just going to boot the computer back up again and hope that everything's going okay, and so far it seemed okay initially, and I avoided playing that game again, and then I started trying out a different game, also early access, and I got a blue screen of death on that game as well, and then I took a look inside, just plucking some of the dust off there. Took a look inside, and I saw that thermal paste had come dribbling out from between my CPU and the heatsink. So here's the CPU right here, and that you can see there's a little bit of thermal paste right there. And then this is the heatsink. It's a Corsair liquid cooling heatsink, and then this goes up like that, and the thermal paste had come dribbling out there, which is really weird. I don't know why that would happen exactly. Maybe it overheated to some insane amount or something. I don't know. I've never seen that before. And the thermal paste that came out was really crispy. It had dried up. It was all crunchy. And that's just, it's really odd. So there's thermal paste kind of like all over. It came dribbling down. You can see in the middle there, it came dribbling down here. This is where the CPU is housed. And it landed on a couple of the cards underneath. So this was my old video card. There's a bit of thermal paste on there. So I started monitoring the temperature on my CPU, and I saw that it was getting to about 75, 76 degrees Celsius when it was at 100% capacity. And that's not too bad. Like that's not like crazy, but what's interesting is that it was hitting 100% capacity way easier than it used to, and I wasn't able to record any footage. I couldn't record and play video games at the same time without the frame rate dropping significantly, and all the recorded footage that I tried to put together for a video last weekend was unusable. It was like a slideshow. So you know, it's not a really good time for me to be spending money on this due to I don't have a job right now because of the COVID-19 thing, and I decided I'm just going to put it off, and I'll just avoid recording stuff, and at a later date I'll deal with this and I'll start recording videos again. I was playing Warframe, not recording anything, and I got another blue screen of death, and it just became obvious that I can't just ignore this. Like, it's going to keep degrading. It just was continually declining in performance, and I had to throw some money at it. So I planned a budget of $1,000 to deal with this, and initially what I really wanted to do was just spend as far less than that as possible. Like, that was the limit, and I wanted as less as possible I could spend on this. So I decided I wanted to just buy a new CPU, take out the old one, take out this one right here, plug a new one in, and be done with it. Now, I'll tell you, this is an Intel Core i7-950 processor. I got this like 10 years ago. This computer's old. Like, I had like a CD drive and a DVD burner in there and stuff like that. Anyway, so this CPU, I will tell you that when I got it, it was above and beyond what was necessary for playing video games at that point in time. But I was future-proofing my PC. I was getting something that was going to last me a long time. And if you think about it, it lasted me like 10 years before I finally had to upgrade it, and that's good. I got my money's worth out of the CPU, so I'm happy with it. The downside is that this thing is so old that even the socket type is obsolete. So if I was to try and buy a new CPU today, no matter what I got, it wouldn't fit into that socket on that motherboard anymore. So I'm forced into buying a new motherboard, which opens things up. Now I don't have to necessarily buy an Intel CPU. So back then, 10 years ago, Intel was the cream of the crop for gaming performance CPUs. Now, things have changed. There's a new company, AMD, and they have a brand called Ryzen, or AMD Ryzen, and their CPUs are better value per dollar spent, better performance per dollar spent in this price range. So I got this. It's an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. And this is, once, just like 10 years ago when I got that Intel i7, this is more than enough for video games today. But that extra headroom will hopefully play out in the longevity of it in future-proofing my PC. If I don't have to replace this thing for another 10 years, just like I did with that i7, I'll be happy with that. The other good thing about this is that I make YouTube videos, and having a good processor helps with workstation performance. So that's like rendering stuff in like Blender, or doing AutoCAD work, or SolidWorks, or whatever, and editing and making videos. So this should help improve the speed and efficiency that I make YouTube videos. So I'm happy with that. Along with that, I had to get a motherboard. So you want to get a motherboard that pairs up nicely with the CPU. This was not my first choice. I actually wanted to get the Tomahawk series, but they were sold out. So I just got this. It's looked like an equivalent. It was like, here's the closest match to that, and I go, okay, whatever, I'll just grab it. I didn't spend much time looking at it. For the RAM, now this old motherboard actually had 6 sticks of RAM in it. I don't know what, I don't even really remember why exactly, but obviously I upgraded at one point. I've got 2 sticks of DDR4 RAM. I can't use that RAM anymore. That's, well, maybe I could, I don't know. But that's DDR3 RAM. This is the new RAM, DDR4, which goes together with the new CPU. So that cost me about $600 for all of that stuff. And this should take care of the issue. However, if all that hardware was that old, you can guess what else was pretty old in my computer. The video card, obviously. The video card was out of date. So I had this NVIDIA Zotac GTX 970, and this thing, I probably could still use it if I'm willing to sacrifice graphics performance in the next several years. I'm already noticing that I can't play games on like the most highest ultra settings anymore with this video card, so it's starting to, you know, become a bottleneck. And if I've got all this other good hardware, I don't really want this graphics card to be that big of a bottleneck on it. So I decided to get a new one. Now this video card, I'll tell you, I got this one, this is only 6 years old. The CPU is 10 years old, and I upgraded the GPU later on. I got this for about $430 or $450, something like that. And the one I got today is, what's the brand here? Or the distributor. The distributor is Palette. I don't really know how to pronounce it. They're pretty big, apparently. Palette, it's an NVIDIA RTX 2060. Now, this, when I looked at the benchmarks, performs about 70% better than the old one, and it's about the same price. So there's kind of a decision to make when it comes to the longevity of the GPU. I could spend more money today and then wait longer before I have to upgrade it, or I could save money today and then it'll be a shorter period of time before I have to buy a new one again. And if you really think about it, if you look at the benchmarks, if I spent twice as much money and I got one that's like a 2070 or 2080, I'm going to spend substantially more money for a far lowered increase in performance. So we're talking over twice as much money for maybe like a 40 to 50% increase in performance. Whereas if I just wait, like I did here, if I wait 6 years and get another one for the same price and get a 70% improvement in performance, you're really just kind of staggering it out. So I think that, in my opinion, I think that's a better way to get good bang for your buck. If you're on a budget, and this is one of the most expensive things inside of a gaming computer, you don't have to spend this much money to get a graphics processor or a computer that can play today's video games. This is what you need if you want to play them on high settings. And not all games, you know, there's some games that have even pushed the limits maybe beyond this. I'm not playing in 4K, I'm playing on 1080p. I don't even have a 4K monitor. But if you really wanted to get the best bang for your buck, you can spend less money than I did on that and get less performance, but more performance per dollar spent. Anyway, what else is there to say? I think that's pretty much it. So this is all the hardware I'm going to be putting in. I'm excited. The total came out to just over $1,000, just a little bit over. I made a mistake. I accidentally bought a warranty on the RAM So I bought a $20 warranty on the RAM for it. I didn't even notice the pop-up came up. I must have clicked yes without even noticing it. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited to install this stuff and get back to making videos again and playing games again. And yeah, hopefully this video is helpful to you. I don't really make very many videos about hardware. I've got like one other video 6 years ago when just before I bought this. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.